Welcome to Future Foodcast. I'm Pamela Miller, your host. I want to thank our sponsor, Farm to Plate. They are creating tomorrow's food business ecosystem today. And I'm excited to have a financial perspective on the food industry today. We have Kelley Morrell. She is the CFO with Wonder. Welcome to the podcast, Kelley.
Thank you so much, Pam. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to dive into all you have to share with us because you also have a rich history to bring to the food industry too. But first of all, why don't you share with us about Wonder as a company and what they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wonder is the first and only fully vertically integrated food delivery platform. And so, what I mean by that is we both have a customer facing app where you can order our amazing food directly. We have physical brick and mortar storefronts. We have 11 locations right now where you can walk in, pick up, dine in, or get delivery. We own all of the restaurants and all of the content on the platform, which means we own over 30 different restaurants, and we own the delivery as well. So we're able to deliver you hot, fresh, incredibly high quality, fine dining type food directly to your door.
Nice. So this is a new take on the food delivery platform. I really like it. Well, we're going to dive a little bit more into what's going on with Wonder and what their future thoughts are. But you bring quite a rich history to this position. First of all, you're newer to the company.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that the head of the company, the founder, was a real he's a very entrepreneurial guy, let's say, has a great history as an entrepreneur, bringing you on board. And what was your experience before that?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I am newer to the company. I joined Wonder about 8 months ago, and I previously was a partner at Blackstone, the large private equity firm, where I spent about 6 years leading many of our founder-led investments. So Blackstone's investment in Bumble, the online business, where I actually went in as the interim president when the CEO was on maternity leave. And then I was on the board and responsible for taking the company public. And I worked with many of our, well-known founder-led businesses, including Spanx, which was, founded and led by Sarah Blakely, another fantastic entrepreneur. And when I was at Blackstone, I had the great fortune of working with, some of the best and brightest, most innovative entrepreneurs, and I loved it. I loved being able to, work with them, but I wanted the opportunity to help build a business. And there were a few businesses when I was thinking about, transitioning into an operating role that had the TAM, the total addressable market that Wonder has, and that really had truly invented something that was really disruptive to an industry that I'm really passionate about, which is food.
Mhm.
And I mean, you mentioned Mark Lurie, our founder and CEO. There are a few people that are as innovative and thoughtful and creative as Mark. And when you're doing something like this, you really want to swing big and you want to be with a team and with a leader who has an incredible vision, which is why it was an easy yes for me to join Mark on this journey. And it's been amazing over the past 8 months. We've done so many different things from acquiring Blue Apron, the meal kit company, which we acquired in November, to just completing a really massive fundraise where we raised $700 million in what was a pretty difficult fundraising market. We have a bunch of other things up our sleeves, in addition to the fact that we've opened, 11 locations. We struck a partnership with Nestle, and we just opened our first location within a Walmart down in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. And so there's lots going on. It's very exciting, but I think it really does put us at the tip of the spear when you think about not only food delivery, but how, American consumers are really rethinking their dining options more broadly.
They really are, Kelley, and I love the energy that I hear and just the excitement for what's going on. And I can see why you wanted to team up with Mark on this project because he's got a great track record, and this offers you the opportunity to use that great investment experience that you had at Blackstone. And it sounds like a dynamic duo setup here
Yeah.
going on. When a lot of companies in the food industry, I'll be honest with you, are coming out of kind of being beat up a little bit during the pandemic or a lot. during the pandemic. It's so invigorating to hear just the excitement in your voice about what the future holds.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that that actually is one of the things that really attracted me to Wonder is when you think about what happened and what we all went through during COVID. And obviously many restaurants actually fell on really hard times, but it did lead to this, I would say, birth and resurgence of food delivery apps and delivery aggregators more broadly. And, I think you probably have had a similar experience to me where we're really accustomed now to ordering food for all different meal occasions online. And at the same time, we're willing to pay pretty high fees for like a subpar service. Like oftentimes when you're using one of the delivery aggregators, your food might arrive late, it might be cold, you actually don't know where it is, and you're paying really high fees for, again, just not a great experience. And so one of the things that Wonder has been able to do is sort of disrupt that value proposition. So being able to ride that big behavioral change of consumers willing to purchase, everything from like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night eating on their phone, but deliver a fabulous, really, really high quality product at a much faster pace and with much lower delivery fees. And so it's not only like a terrific value proposition for consumers, but because we're vertically integrated, we can also do things that no one else can. And so we have a monthly membership plan where you actually can pay $7.99 for a monthly membership. And in doing that, you get free delivery. And we can do really cool things like actually not just deliver your food first, but because we're vertically integrated, we can move your order to the front of the cooking line. And we're able to, in fact, cook your food first, which again is what no one else is able to do. And so the other thing that it enables us to do, because again, we're a vertically integrated platform, is you actually are able to order from multiple different restaurants in one order. And so this is really different than, what, you actually were able to do on one of the delivery aggregators. And it sort of solves the like time old like argument that I feel like I have with my spouse every night of, well, what do you want for dinner? What do you want? I don't know. Where now everyone in the family can actually order from a different restaurant, so a different cuisine, and it all is cooked together on the same common platform, and then it's delivered in the same bag for one delivery fee. And so, Pam, you could order, pizza. I could order barbecue. One of our friends could order a salad, all from different cuisines, and all again, very, very high quality food. We feel like we've really invented something that's quite different, and that we are delivering what we've called fast fine food. And so this is, us partnering with incredibly well-known chefs across the country, like Bobby Flay or Jose Andres, Mark Murphy, Michael Simon, Marcus Samuelson, like the best of the best, where we have their restaurants on our platform exclusively in some cases, and you're able to order a Bobby Flay filet mignon steak, which I may not necessarily order from a normal delivery app because I don't know if it's actually going to get to me in time so that it's hot and delicious, just like I would order in a restaurant. And that's really one of the big opportunities that I think Wonder's addressing.
Kelley, let's back up a little bit. You covered so much. I was going to ask about the vertical integration. Let's start there because normally when you order from some of the traditional, you're taking advantage of a change in buying behavior, right? That happened over the pandemic. I feel like this whole delivery, people accepting it more was eventually coming, but certainly it was sped up by multiple times because of the environment that we were in with the pandemic. All right, so that's number one. But normally, yeah, you do have to pick the restaurant you're going to order from because that person, they don't own that restaurant and they don't own, like that whole vertical integration. It's a third party that's going to pick up the food and then deliver it. So they don't have any control over how fast your order gets cooked. That's why a lot of times, I don't know, the fries are cold, things have fallen out of the bag, whatever might have happened to your food. But that whole vertical integration, just owning that. And let's not just glance over the fact that you're only charging $7.99 and I get free delivery.
And that's
And
for the month.
I,
So
I
our
know
normal
that's what
delivery
I
fee is
mean.
$1.99 for an order.
It's
So you could get 8 different restaurants and it's only $1.99. Whereas again, you're absolutely right when you think about the value proposition, not
yeah.
only to consumers, but also to restaurants. Like we feel like there's a big opportunity for us to potentially partner with individual restaurants and do delivery on their behalf. And so like if
Wow.
I'm a local restaurant, for example, you're right. I don't have any control over, my food. I might cook it in my kitchen and it might sit and wait for a courier to come pick it up. And by the time it actually gets to the customer, like it might be cold. It might not be how I want to represent myself as an individual restaurant. Not only are we solving that with Wonder being totally vertically integrated, we also believe that we can provide that same end delivery service to other restaurants and help them actually provide a better service to their own customers. And so restaurants that we might not get into or we might not own ourselves, we think that we can actually provide them, an uplift. And again, the aggregators charge them a lot of money, which I think is really tough if you're a mom and pop, small, struggling restaurant, particularly coming out of COVID. Like we feel like this is our brethren and we want to help them and make this ecosystem even more sort of healthy and robust. And so we think that there's a big opportunity again for us to provide something that's differentiated to the entire sector.
I totally agree because the profit margins in the food industry, especially the restaurant sector of the food industry, are razor thin. I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough. My parents owned a restaurant for a number of years, and I know firsthand, it's always watching everything that's happening throughout. And so if you could establish this platform, and then obviously you would have to partner with restaurants that are willing to be up to the standard
Of
that you're
course.
setting. They want to raise their bar to meet the service that Wonder is providing. That sounds like a great matchup. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, there's some great food available for a really reasonable price. And certainly the subscription idea, a lot of people will tune into that and be excited about that because they don't want to wait an hour or however long, depending on if it's a busy night or something. If they can figure out how to get pushed to the front of the line by subscribing, and then you have a more predictable revenue stream as well. Some
Absolutely.
raving fans out there, they're going to come to you first when they go to order.
That's exactly right. And I think that there are some other interesting things just when we think about that repeat behavior, because we have a lot of variety on the platform. We found that again, you have to think about the customer first. By providing, excuse me, by providing incredible, high quality, delicious food, you're able to attract customers. And even though we might be providing, a very high end food, a filet mignon, for example, because we're vertically integrated, we actually can provide a customer that like amazing dish at a lower price point than you could get in a steakhouse. And so if you were to go onto our platform today and you ordered a 10-ounce filet mignon, it's actually priced at $32. And if you went into the restaurant in New York City, it would be $55 or $60. And
Right.
the reason that we're able to deliver that beneficial pricing to consumers is again because we're vertically integrated and ultimately, we own all the technology, and we're able to do things that really squeeze out those efficiencies in our platform that enable us to pass those savings on to consumer. And so, there's like not only an incredible variety, but it's also great value for consumer.
Wow. I'm really impressed. And I might say to our listeners and those of us that are viewing us on YouTube, I don't know if I look like I'm, hungry or not, but it's getting close to dinner time while we're doing this interview. And you're making me really hungry, Kelley, with the talk of all these great steaks. I just have to say, I'm getting really hungry. So I'm going to have to go and see what I'm going to have for dinner, which I haven't figured out yet. Well, let's talk about the environment because you have these growth plans. You're doing fantastic. The energy is there. You've got all these plans in place that you're talking about. The subscription service, you're looking at maybe doing other restaurants. You just partnered with Nestle. You got a place in Walmart, and the food industry is not doing so great all across the board. Talk to me about the environment within which you're working and doing all these great things.
Yeah, and so I think that the environment for, restaurants and food delivery, you're right. I would say it's at an inflection point where it's ready to be disrupted, frankly. And so I think that there's both an opportunity for individual restaurants that might want to expand geographically to partner with Wonder, because ultimately a geographic expansion for one individual restaurant could be quite expensive. But if they partnered with us, we actually could take their business or their platform, on our platform nationally. And, we do have plans to continue to grow the number of restaurants that we have on the platform. We have a few well-known chefs that we're in discussions with. And, we do believe that there's, a huge opportunity in that regard. And like I said earlier, I do believe that individuals in the United States eat at least 3 times a day. There's a massive and growing market. One of the things that we found pretty interesting as we thought about the total addressable market for this business is today it's about $100 billion in terms of total market size, which is very large.
Yeah.
However, it is growing rapidly, both in terms of the number of individual households that are consuming on apps, as well as overall population growth. And, we believe that this market's going to grow to be 500 billion over the next 10 to 12 years. And so there's a massive pie, no pun intended, out there. And it's really around how is it going to be divided up? And we believe that, a platform like Wonder is really positioned to win. And that's what we're excited about as we think about the overall market.
Yeah, and the disruption, I think you're right about that. We've already seen a lot of changes. We've already seen some business models in the food industry that did not make it through the pandemic, were not sustainable, and others have emerged and are thriving, and like yours, thriving and with growth plans. So that's very exciting.
And I
Well,
think that also, when you think about disruption and changes in the food industry, I think coming out of COVID, not only did you see the rise of the delivery aggregators, but you also saw the rise of individuals trying to create a common platform through a cloud kitchen or a ghost kitchen, basically seeing in the market that there was an opportunity to aggregate the capital expenditure or aggregate the real estate side of things to be able to funnel more revenue through one channel. I think in our experience, many of them have not worked, and they haven't worked because of some of the reasons that Wonder really has already addressed. And so when we think about the ideas and the sort of opportunities that we've already addressed, one, we have a physical brick and mortar retail location that's on the high street, really close to consumers. And so because of that, we're able to deliver, high quality, fine dining food fast. And that's one thing we haven't talked about with the platform, that ultimately, we have an average of a 6-minute delivery time, which is really fast. Again, we're able to do that because we're vertically integrated. And, because we have our own app, we are consumer facing. We don't have to worry about marketing through the third party apps. And because we have a common platform, all of the equipment that we have in the back of the kitchen is electric. And it's only 3 pieces of electric equipment that enables us to cook everything from a filet mignon to a Sicilian style deep dish pizza. Wow. And those 3 pieces of electric equipment mean that you have less waste, you have lower costs, you can really streamline your operations, and it really turns what I think historically in the food space was a labor intensive and cost intensive business. You have to really count every penny and think about your waste and your scrappage and your yield. It really turns that into like an e-commerce business. And if you came into one of the back of our kitchens, it looks much more like a fulfillment center, like what Amazon has, than a regular kitchen. And so there has been a lot of change and a lot of people trying to figure out how to capture this broader trend in the market. But I think we're the ones that ultimately are going to emerge as the winners.
Yeah, innovation for multiple times here, because, one of the big topics for consumers is they want to know that the companies they're doing business with are paying attention to utilizing the resources that they have and not wasting. And food is a huge opportunity where there's a lot of waste on the front end and on the back end. And
Absolutely.
you're really addressing that, and consumers are going to love that. Who
Yeah.
So innovatively, let's just think from the innovation standpoint, how did you, was this like trial and error, three pieces of equipment? How you even figure out what the process is? I guess that's where the chefs come in, and they're using their expertise to say how we streamline this process. How can we maximize efficiency? How can we minimize waste?
That's exactly right. And by the way, this is where we really believe this is true research and development, true like R&D. And so our chefs have three pieces of equipment that they are constrained to figure out how to cook a dish in. There's a discussion around where there might be gaps on our menu. And so, for example, we're just rolling out a Thai concept. You would be surprised how hard it was to figure out how to cook something that was like a stir fry when you don't have a wok. We don't even have open flames. And so it really is a lot of research and development that happens upstream where we figure out, for the pizza, for example, how do we ensure that we can get the pizza dough to rise properly in an electric oven, and have the cheese melt, just like it would if you were in, a Brooklyn pizza local restaurant that has a brick oven or a coal-fired oven, so that you're delivering that same high quality dish to consumers. And so there's been a tremendous amount of research and development. I can't underestimate the power of it. That, for example, the pizza actually took 4 years for us to figure out how to actually produce. The steak took us about 3 years. And there's a lot of iteration that goes into it. Everything from, what is the type of steak that you're procuring? How are you preparing it before it comes into our individual kitchens? What pan you're cooking it on? What does the pan look like? What's the material? Does it have holes in the bottom? How are you then programming our ovens so that you have the right temperature, the right wind speed, the right oscillation? Like, there are all of these different variables. And so we oftentimes think that it's not that dissimilar in a way to sort of the formula to Coca-Cola. Like, Coca-Cola is sugar and water, and there's some process that happens that's a very closely guarded secret. That's what we feel about our food. It's, they're raw materials. There's a process that goes into it. And ultimately, those two things coming together are what's proprietary and innovative about our business that really is true R&D and a big innovation.
Well, Kelley, I'm so intrigued, and I have another idea for yet another opportunity for Wonder to have a separate income stream. Would be selling tours of your kitchen to show people how you're doing this, because I'm just so intrigued by this whole discussion. I'm so glad that we got into it. I think it's just really fun to talk about. Well,
Amazing.
right now, where is your footprint now? You talked about stores and delivery areas. Where are you now, and where are you going?
Yep. So we opened our first location about 12 months ago on the Upper West Side of New York City and Manhattan. And today we have 10 locations in New York and New Jersey. So 5 locations in New York City between Brooklyn and Manhattan, 5 in New Jersey. And so a mix of sort of urban and suburban. And then one that we just opened in a more rural environment in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, inside of a Walmart. And over the course of the next 24 months, we'll reach 90 locations, mostly in the New York tri-state area. So New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, down into Pennsylvania. And we're intentionally sort of constraining the footprint for a couple of different reasons. One, it's really important to us that we prove out that this model works in a number of different sort of geographic and demographic footprints. So both urban, suburban, and rural. And additionally, like, we want to make sure that this works, and not just in the best Class A locations, which is what some restaurant or some sort of, QSR type concepts do. Because if we only are opening them in the best locations, when we go to grow, we're going to open them in worse locations, which ultimately will impact our growth negatively. So we don't want to do that. So we today actually have 5 different sizes of locations. A large one which are the ones that we have in New York and New Jersey for the most part, which can hold up to 40 different restaurants. And then a small one, which is a smaller footprint, can hold about 10 restaurants. Each of those is sized based on how we think about the future demand and future sort of gross order value that an area might be able to produce. And we have a big model that ingests a lot of different factors and ultimately spits out what size we think makes sense. And so the plan is really to be sort of focused for the next 24 months just on this New York City tri-state area. And then over time, we plan to expand up and down the East Coast. And once we sort of are up and down the East Coast, we do think that we will be able to open regions nationally across the US. And that's really the long-term plan, is to become, a national household name to be able to deliver, great food to consumers across the country.
Wow, that is great. And I'm so excited to be kind of on the East Coast. Atlanta, we have a lot of foodies here. Come south, please come south. We would love to have you. I think that is just a great model. And it makes so much sense to scale responsibly and prove your model, because you're also trying to prove the sizes of what you're building, how many restaurants it's going to hold, and all the analytics that are going into that. And this is one of the times when we love big data, right? Because we can take a look at what's happening in buying habits of certain areas and numbers of people, et cetera, demographics. So that's
and we really do think of ourselves as like a data-driven technology company. And for example, because we're vertically integrated, we actually get real-time feedback on every single dish. So every order that a consumer places, we actually ask them for feedback on every dish on a number of different factors. So taste, temperature, texture, delivery time, anything you could think about. And we're monitoring those scores every single day. Our chefs and our culinary team see those scores. And if for some reason, a taste score might be dropping, we will hone in on that dish. We might even take it off the menu for a certain amount of time to make sure ultimately we're delivering, the best food we possibly can. And that's something like a restaurant can't do. I'm sure they would love to do it. They would love to know why a customer isn't buying or purchasing one of their dishes. And again, that's something we can do. And that data sort of, permeates how we really think about building the business more broadly.
Yeah, very exciting. Oh my goodness, Kelley, I think we've covered so many different topics in this interview today, but is there anything else you want to share with our future Foodcast audience before we go?
And I think one of the things that might be interesting to talk about, we obviously just announced a very large fundraising round where we closed on $700 million, which, not only was something we're obviously very proud of, and I think speaks to, Wonder's growth trajectory and our performance, but this is still a very challenging fundraising market. And, when you think about, growth-oriented businesses that are in the market to raise, venture capital or private equity money, it's still a tough environment. It's a really, really challenging time, given, many private equity and venture capital firms coming out of COVID are sort of nurturing their own portfolio companies and are sort of heads down. I think it speaks volumes about Wonder and, again, sort of our future growth and what investors saw in us as we were out on the road meeting with both current and new investors alike.
Yeah, just the whole concept obviously is well received, and they're betting on that. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast, and our listeners and viewers on YouTube. If you enjoyed this interview with Kelley and want to see some more, please subscribe. Please leave us comments. Let us know what you thought and what other kinds of interviews you'd like to see. Until next week, I'm Pam Linemiller.
Thanks for listening to Future Foodcast. Future Foodcast is powered by Farm to Plate, the leading food blockchain platform. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with the very latest innovations in the food industry.